here today, and I hope you are in an excellent mood and
Recording
are ready
in
to
progress.
gain lots of insights with us this evening. On today's webinar, we will be covering the topic of supporting the blue economy concept to create sustainability in Indonesia, with our spectacular speaker, Mr. Bisuk Abraham, a research associate of Environmental Economics Research Group at LPEM-FEBUI. Firstly, I would like to express my gratitude for everyone, as through your participation, this event was made possible. This webinar was held with the purpose to gain deeper comprehension regarding blue economy concept, considering that our country is a maritime country whose most of its territory is ocean, not land, and seeing how the blue economy concept can have great potential in Indonesia. So we thank you for enabling us to create such impacts. Before going further, let me introduce myself. My name is Catherine, and I will be the Master of Ceremony and moderator for all of you in this webinar today. But before we begin, plenty of you have an abundance of questions in regarding to the organizer of this webinar. We would like to give a chance to get to know the Global Millennial Group a little bit closer. Okay, let me introduce you to GMG. GMG, or Global Millennial Group, is a one self-developmental platform that strives for quality education and youth empowerment globally through various educational programs. International bodies as well as universities, as can be seen on the slide. We also have reached over 300 partners so far, and we have over 5 programs which have reached over 200,000 youths in over 35 countries. One of our programs is the Global Millennial Model United Nations, or GM-MUN. It comprises 2 main branches, which are the MUN Conference and the MUN School. To give you a short overview of how GM-MUN is, for more testimonies about GM-MUN, you can also head to our Instagram at Global Millennial MUN. So before we wrap up this info session, let me shortly share with you the siblings of GM-MUN. Here, as you can see, we have Indonesia SDG Summit, which is perfect for anyone who is interested in SDGs and would like to increase their essay and presentation skills. Be Global Indonesia, where we provide classes to improve their scholarship, where we provide several options for scholarship, and for anyone looking to gain extra knowledge about skills that will be useful throughout their journeys. And lastly, we have Sebulan Menjadi. Next, I will shortly introduce you to the membership plans that we provide to ease your way in joining all of our programs. On the slide, you can see the benefits of each plan, which are bronze, silver, and gold, as well as the prices for each. It is a plan you do not want to miss out, so make sure to check it out after this webinar ends. I would also like to give you a brief introduction to the GM store, where we sell Global Millennial Group's official merchandise. Check the catalog on the link provided on the screen and snatch your favorite merchandise before it runs out. Lastly, last but not least, we would like to share with you our very special referral code so that you can get a discount. Register through join.gmillennial.com and use the code webinar/GMG to get your discount. Okay, I have more exciting information for you. On behalf of GMG, we would like to give a chance for you guys to participate in the GM-MUN conference for free. However, to win these tickets, you must share your Instagram story during this webinar and tag at Global Millennial Group and at Global Millennial MUN. Then take the screenshot proof and submit it to the form bit.ly/GA/MUN-March, and the 5 lucky winners will be announced after this session ends in the Telegram group. Alright, so that is all for the information session. Next, we will officially commence the event with an opening speech from the Director of Pre-Event Management, Mr. Yasar Reski Maulana. To Mr. Yasar, the time is yours.
Okay, hello everyone, and thank you for Catherine for the opportunity. And hello everyone, and welcome to Global Millennial MUN webinar with the theme of supporting the blue economy concept to create sustainability in Indonesia. I hope all of you here has good condition and always healthy. And let me introduce, my name is Yasar as the Director Program Management Global Millennial MUN in this event. I would like to thank you to all of the participants who has high enthusiasm for this webinar with the great speaker also. Thank you for Mr. Bisuk who have been pleased to attend and will give the insight regarding blue economy concept. As for me, keep up the spirit from insight in the webinar and enjoy for the webinar. And from this, I will open this evening webinar. Thank you, and I will give it back to Catherine.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Yassar, for the magnificent speech. Now, before we continue, form will be shared at the end of the session, and it will be closed today at 10 p.m. So make sure to fill it right after the webinar ends so you don't miss it out. Now, let's get to the main event, which is the discussion session with our awesome speaker. Today, we have the pleasure of being able to invite Mr. Bisok Abraham Sisungkunon, a research associate of Environmental Economics Research Group at LPEM-FEBUI, to be with us and discuss the topic of supporting the blue economy concept to create sustainability in Indonesia. To start, I will be giving a short introduction of our speaker. Mr. Bisok Abraham Sisungkunon is a research associate at Environmental Economics Research Group at LPEM-FEBUI, which is a research institute under the Faculty of Economics and Business, University of Indonesia, as well as the largest community of academics researchers at the University of Indonesia. LPEM-FEBUI has played an important role in research and educational activities. Most of its activities are collaboration with public or private entities, both within and outside the country. Government, agencies, or private and foreign institutions have become the client of LPEM for research activities. Such remarkable speaker we have with us today. Now let's greet him. Hello, Mr. Bisuk. I hope you are having an awesome day so far.
Yes, I do. I'm looking forward for this session, actually.
Okay. That's very great to hear. Now, without further ado, I have been talking quite a lot now. We can start our session today. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Catherine. So, first of all, I want to say good afternoon. I don't know whether there are some foreign participants in this event. Let me introduce myself. I think as Catherine already introduced me previously, my name is Bisok Abraham Sisungkunon. Currently, I am a research associate at Environmental Economics Research Group at LPEM-FEBUI. Actually, currently, I'm also appointed by the Ministry of National Planning as an expert in the green and the blue economy in accordance to their task throughout the G20 event. So I actually find this event very, very helpful. So actually, I can deliver what I already understand to you. And actually, I'm also open to any comments, maybe you have some critical thinking, or maybe you have some ideas, opinion about the blue economy. I'm really, really looking forward to hear it more from you. So shall I start share the screen, I think? There will be no other things, okay. All right, so is my screen can be accessible to everyone in this meeting? I hope you can see my screen right now. Yes? Okay, so this is the title. So I was asked to explore about the concept of the blue economy, and then some opportunities, some challenges, and also what already the government has done to implement this blue economy in Indonesia so far. This is already night, I think, in Indonesia. I hope that my material is not heavy enough for you, and I hope that we can still have a fruitful discussion afterwards. There will be 4 sections. The first one, I think I will start from the concept itself. Maybe for several people, the blue economy is a new thing, is something that they haven't heard before. However, it has been established since 2012, so there is a Rio Plus 20. At that time, the meeting concluded a definition of what we call the green and the blue economy. So previously, at 2012, it was both of them are combined in one concept, which is the green economy. So the screen. So you want to end the economic growth, enhance social inclusion, improve the human welfare, which is actually all the main development goals worldwide. But at the same time, you want to also maintain the healthy functioning of the Earth ecosystem. And actually, the blue economy itself is initiated by SIDS. I don't know. Well, you're MUN, so I think you already know about what SIDS itself. So it's a group of countries which I can say most of them are archipelagic. So most of them are surrounded by ocean and seas. Uh, the definition itself has evolved. So starting from what they already discussed in 2012, some development agency, two of them that I already put on the screen, the World Bank and United Nations, developed their own definition of blue economy is. So the World Bank stated that the blue economy is the sustainable use ocean resources for economic for economic growth, improve livelihoods, jobs, and also preserving the health of ocean ecosystem. This definition is also taken by the United Nations. The ocean economy aims at improvement of human well-being while significantly reduce the environmental risk and also the ecological scarcities. Oops. Yeah. Can we conclude from that? So actually, the blue economy is a mixture between what we call, you want to extract as much as you can from the ocean or from the sea for human development, for human welfare, but at the same time, you want to also reduce the resulting ecological deficits. So then, it maybe some people wonder what differs the blue economy and the green economy. Lots of literature say that actually the blue economy and the green economy is, I can say, almost identical concept. So they want to promote how can we improve human welfare, but at the same time, we are not ruining the environment, something like that. So actually, fundamentally, they are the same. However, the only difference is while the green economy is considered as a terrestrial approach, the blue economy is taking more focus on the marine ecosystem and the marine areas. So actually the core of the blue economy is actually the socio-economic development from environmental degradation. And all the global communities already acknowledge blue economy as the part of the sustainable development goals. It's a little bit interactive for all of us. Can you guess which goals is or are associated with blue economy? Maybe someone can help me answer that. Goals. So these 17 goals are the worldwide goals that the global communities, all the countries in the world, not all actually, all the UN members must achieve by 2030. Can you guess which one is associated with the blue economy? I mean, from what I already explained before. Do I have a volunteer or not? No? Okay.
Maybe I'll start.
All right.
So everyone else can raise their hand or just unmute your speaker.
Mhm.
I'll say it's 14, life below water.
Yeah, that's life below water. That's one. Is that the only goals that can be achieved through blue economy? Well, the second one is a climate action because you want to reduce some environmental damage. You are also promoting the sustainable production and consumption. And remember, at the same time, the first line of each definition is about economic improvement. So, of course, you want to promote decent work and economic growth. And as well, this might be, I can say, site specific because not all potentials for clean or renewable energy in their marine areas. And actually, prior to SDGs, the global communities has a development goals called Millennium Development Goals. So SDGs is a replacement development goals. And actually, environmental sustainability has been the part of the goals. This goal has an explicitly state about life below water that we already discussed before. It means that the global communities consider ocean becomes more important than before, and at least until 2030. And why ocean is becoming important for us? Why all the economic actors, why all the people, why all the government must take care of ocean health, I can say. We will answer it in the next part. And when we talk about the blue economy, it's not only when someone said about the blue economy, one thing that associated with your mind is we are only talk about fisheries or on all the stuffs, fish processing and stuff like that. But however, the blue economy is wider and larger than that. We are also talking about the transportation there, the ports, and also because remember, most of the commodities, especially the raw materials, are transported through the blue economy, also contributes to the transportation sector. And then the coastal tourism. If some of you prefers diving to other tourism activities, the blue economy can also provide a better protection to the coastal tourism. And also maybe, just maybe, if you heard that in 2020, freshwater sources is traded in this, that people start to think that, we are heading to a freshwater scarcity in the global scale. So people start to gamble that, if I can, let's say, occupy or having an ownership of a certain water sources, it will be beneficial for us. And this desalination that people consider to get the fresh water. The latest one that I heard was, I don't know. I don't think it has been launched lately, but the one that I knew was in Nusa Tenggara, because I don't know whether we have a Nusa Tenggara from East Nusa Tenggara participants here, or maybe some. As we know that East Nusa Tenggara is one of the area which has significant water scarcity in the last couple of years. So I heard that there will be some desalination project. I've heard more about that, and maybe there are some renewables and stuff like that. Even though later on I will also show that the renewable energy from marine might not be the strength point of Indonesia so far. Okay, now if you remember in the two slides prior to this one, I raised one question. Why should we preserve ocean? Why should we see ocean as a separated entities from the land? Why should we treat ocean differently? So manage ocean sustainably will yield higher benefit to the society instead of leaving it anecdotal facts that actually we have to know, maybe, or maybe we already know but we forgot it, or maybe we just know it today. So we contain the second longest shoreline, so we don't have the longest shoreline, FYI. Yes, the longest shoreline in the world is in Canada, but Indonesia contains the second longest shoreline in the world, 55 kilometers. It signifies the important role of ocean towards Indonesian community. And if we want to see the organism lives underneath the Indonesian water, 76% of global coral reef species actually resides or lives in Indonesian area. So again, in terms of biodiversity, Indonesian marine areas also plays an important role. And then if you want to see about, you want to observe the domestic protein consumption, majority of the domestic protein consumption, approximately around 54%, is coming from fish. And from where we produce fish? From sea. So again, if you want to, maybe if you're familiar with the concept of food diversification, food diversity, diet intake, this is an interesting fact, actually. And as you know, maybe we have a participant from public health field, how important the protein for the human health in terms of the growth and stuff like that. The last one, there are almost 8 million poor families whose welfare and whose lives depends on marine outputs. Maybe most of them are from the fisherman families, something like that. And well, it is understandable because, again, we have 55-kilometer shoreline, so we will have lots of fisherman families there, and also villages and also rural areas which developed in or close to the shoreline. Another interesting fact that also shows the importance of marine areas to Indonesia is the economic value added. So among all the Asian members, Indonesia generated the largest value added from marine sectors, as you can see in the graph before, in the graph on the lower side of your panel. Well, again, Indonesia, the value added creation is almost like 30 trillions USD in 2015, significantly larger than other ASEAN members. And if we want to observe it component by component, we can see here that 49%, yes, Indonesia, this is the way we see it. So the inner circle belongs to Indonesia. So if you want to observe the distribution of value added based on sectors, only for Indonesia, you can see the inner circle. The middle circle is for ASEAN, and the outer circle is for East Asia and Pacific. As you can see here, that majority of the value added creation in marine sectors, from marine sectors in Indonesia, are coming from marine fishing. And again, it means that our marine industry relies heavily on fish catch, something like that. And the second one is, again, this is marine fish processing. So fisheries plays a very, very important role. If you want to discuss about the blue economy, this data shows that, all right, fisheries is, I can say, the sectors that should be addressed more compared to the other one. And again, if we see the marine fishing production in Indonesia, so almost 8% of the global captures. So the fish catch from the sea, from the ocean at the global level, 8% of them originated from Indonesia. Can you imagine? That's quite a lots of number regarding we have lots of countries who also has marine areas surrounds them. As you can see here, that the total annual production in tons ranging between 7 until 8, the latest one, and the trend is growing. So there is a growing trend of fish catch production in Indonesia. And on the right panel is the volume price, something like that. The price is, I can say, it's not showing the same trend. Sometimes it's fluctuates. Sometimes it's maybe higher. Sometimes it's lower. Depends on the demand and the supply. And if you are also curious what kind of fisheries commodities that becoming I can say, the prima donna of Indonesia's fisheries sector in Indonesia. So we can say that most of the catch is in terms of COB. This is a catch of readers. Yeah. Also, we in 2000 and the trend is not, I can say, consistent, but lately in 2020, most of them are squids. Yeah. Apart from the fisheries, actually, Indonesia also has mining potentials in its. I pick it from the Bapenas, so it uses. But as you can see, that we also have onshore natural gas abundance, meaning that again, if we can treat, if we can manage our ocean in a good way, so we can actually have the potentials to gain from this abundance. This is the renewable energy potentials that I discussed before. While from marine, typically there are two types of energy that we can use to produce electricity. So the first one, maybe the most typical one, is the wind. So if you have ever heard onshore wind, so you erect the turbine at the sea, something like that. Maybe if you have been to Denmark or some Scandinavia, if you have Denmark has one of the largest wind turbines, onshore wind turbines, which is crazy. And the second one is a tidal wave. Unfortunately, based on the current observation, Indonesia doesn't have a significant potential in both, because right now the wind turbines in Indonesia actually developed offshore or on the terrestrial areas. Maybe if you're coming from Sulawesi, in Jeneponto, something like that, we have a huge wind power plant there, or in Yogyakarta. But onshore, I'm actually skeptical. Wind power plant potentials in Indonesia. But then here on the screen, I also provide you with some electricity potentials if you want to optimize something like that. Again, I haven't heard I heard that there will be a pilot in Bali, but I don't know. Maybe the project is not feasible, so it's not continue, or maybe I lost some progress from those projects. But yeah, from what I know, there will be a pilot project of tidal wave power plant, so we generate electricity from the wave. And also, if you're intrigued, the blue economy will also benefit Indonesia's tourism. Remember, one of the pillars under the blue economy is biodiversity conservation, and the tourism, the marine tourism, relies heavily on the biodiversity, especially for you, all the divers or or non-divers who actually enjoys the marine tourism, something like that. They really relies on how rich your biodiversity are, and the blue economy can actually help. The blue economy framework can help these conservation attempts. Again, there are some opportunities in implementing the blue economy here, because again, the global tourism at the global scale accounts for 5% of the global GDP. And for the global ocean economy, 26% of them are coming from tourism. Again, this shows how economically reliable marine tourism, especially if you know that there are we will develop some diving sites in Indonesia, or there are some super strategic tourism sites. Am I correct? I think so. Super strategic tourism site that will be developed by the Ministry of Tourism. They also relies heavily on the biodiversity, and we expect that by 2030, the value added and also the will double at least compared to the 2020 state. And by 2030, the employment at the marine tourism will increase by 22% based on OECD's projections. This is another concept. Maybe this is, well, in environmental economics, we also, when you want to see the benefit of a certain landscape or a certain natural capitals, we also have what we call non-marketed ecosystem services. Let's say we are talking about marine. The only thing that marine provides is not only fish, no? They, not only the seaweed or the natural gas or all the tradable commodities. At the same time, they also provide significant ecosystem services, but it is not tradable everywhere. I will provide you with some explanations there. Here, for example, safeguarding biodiversity, food web maintenance, habitat maintenance, water cycle, primary production, nutrient cycles, and also the maintenance of the habitat. These services are provided by the ocean. But from where we can buy it? Nowhere. No one actually traded this kind of services. No one actually, even you go to any markets or any trading system, so far no one traded this kind of services. But then again, these services are produced by ocean with or without human interventions, actually. Not only the supporting ecosystem services, there are also regulated ecosystem services, climate regulating, coastal protections, maintenance of air quality, and also the water purity. Again, these kind of services is not tradable. No one traded this. And the last one is cultural. Maybe this is if you can design it in a good way, you can actually trade it in the form of tourism. So actually, marine tourism tries to trade it their cultural economic services from the oceans. But then again, sometimes if you have sea lovers here, maybe there are some people who enjoys to go to the sea, just see, and then seeing waves and enjoys the silence at the seaside, something like that. You enjoys the aesthetic value of the sea. And again, no one values it everywhere. So actually, these services, on reality, we get it from the ocean, but no one actually put a price on them. We get it for free. We are not paying for them. And there are some estimation. So if we want to value all the respective ecosystem services, these are the value, which is crazy, in my opinion. For marine areas, all the non-marketed ecosystem services is equivalent with 389 USD. Please take in mind that this is USD in 2007. So this value should be higher by now. And for coastal system is beach, shoreline, something like that. All the values equivalent with 190,000 USD. Wow. And the largest economic value was provided by coral reefs, because if we go back, because these services, the one that I showed you in the screen, are mostly provided by coral reefs, no? So that's why coral reefs, if you want to divide the layers, the marine, coastal, and also the coral reefs provide you with the most significant or the largest economic value of ecosystem services. Again, this signifies we should protect our oceans. And last but not the least, again, by implementing blue economy, sometimes people are intrigued by whether all the politicians of our governance, all the governmental officials, maybe they are intrigued whether if I implement blue economy, will it be good for my political acceptance, or will people sees me as a crazy one, something like that? But then there was a survey conducted by the Regeneration Roadmap. Wait, I forgot the year, but it's 2017, something like that. It's not that outdated. So the survey by the Regeneration Roadmap shows that the public trusts the green and blue economy more than the traditional economy in solving major economic, social, and environmental issues. As you can see at the graph, at the lower part of your panel on the screen, again, the most significant, the highest trust from the public towards the green and blue economy is for protecting the environment, which is understandable because people believe that if the government implement green and blue economy, they will protect the environment better instead of you implement the traditional economy. An interesting one is the second one, is the creating a better future. So actually the public also has a future demand. They want their future generations to live, also put a very, very positive sentiment towards the green and blue economy implementations. And the last one, and the third one, the third largest one is the improving the quality of life. Because again, people realize that they gain something from things like that. People realize that, oh, ocean is where I can get fish. Oh, ocean is where I go to during my holiday session. Or, oh, maybe I love seeing ocean. I love, like, maybe you are coming from coastal areas, maybe. Oh, I love coastal areas because that is my home, something like that. And improving the quality of life is actually among the three components important from the green and blue economy. So the first part, we already discussed about what is the blue economy. We already know that the blue economy is, we want to improve the current ocean management. So we are not only extracting all the marine resources, but at the same time, we ensure that our extraction doesn't ruin or doesn't create any environmental hazards. And at the second part, we already see that Indonesia itself has various of benefits that they can get from the ocean. The next one, we want to see why now? Why we should consider the blue economy as an urgent thing? Why should we implement it for now? There are a few that consider why should we implement the blue economy for now. First, if you want to compare the impact of climate change, if you want to compare it between the terrestrial ecosystem and the aquatic ecosystem or ocean or marine ecosystem, actually ocean ecosystem receive a significant risk from climate change. Because as you remember, the climate change is driven by the escalation of carbon dioxide's concentration in the atmosphere. And then the direct consequence is there is a global warming or the increasing temperature of at the land at the global scale. Because of the temperature is rising, it will contribute to what we call ocean acidification, and also it will create a warmer water in the ocean, something like that. And if the ocean becomes warmer, there are lots of carbon sinks or carbon storage in the ocean. And if the ocean gets warmer, this carbon sink will release more carbon dioxide into the water. And at the same time, it will acidify the water or increase the pH of the water. What are the consequences? Of course, if the water becomes warmer and the water also becomes more acid, it will disrupt the fisheries. It will disrupt the marine food webs. And also, if the marine food webs is affected, is negatively or adversely impacted by this acidification, can you imagine about the fishermen whose livelihood relies heavily on the ocean? Maybe if we come back to a few slides previously, that I forgot the millions. There are, I think, 9 millions of poor families whose life depends on the ocean or on the sea. So if we disrupt the marine food web, it will disrupt the fisheries output, and in the long run, we will also, in a way that we can expect there is a reduction in the welfare level of the fishermen and all the societies whose life depended directly to the marine areas. And also, if we want to talking about the biodiversity, previously we talked about how marine tourism relies heavily on the biodiversity, all the divers and stuff like that. The warmer ocean and the more acid ocean will accelerate what we call coral bleaching. So if you dive of organisms, there are lots of fish and then also some algae and stuff like that there. It will be gone. It will be like white. That's what we call coral bleaching. And if we have a coral bleaching, what should we see then in the marine tourism site? There is nothing to see anymore. And the direct consequence is no one will come to the sites. We should put more attention on ocean because ocean receive risk larger than we thought. Something like that. Unfortunately, the adverse impact or the negative impact of the climate change is not disproportionately distributed among all countries. So all countries will not receive the identical negative impact from the climate change that we already discussed before. Here, if you can see the table, you see the vulnerability score. This vulnerability score measures a country's exposure and sensitivity to the negative impacts of climate change. So if the score gets lower, it means that they are less sensitive towards the adverse impact of climate change. And if the vulnerability score gets higher, it implies that the respective country becomes more susceptible to the negative risk of climate change. As you can see here, the lower income countries and also SIDS relatively are more vulnerable to the climate change instead of the higher and also the middle income countries. This is concerning because lower income countries and SIDS already have some difficulties in accelerating their economic growth. But then, if the economic value added creation source getting quote unquote eliminated by climate change, it will make their conditions worse and worse, and it will increase a global there is a global disparity between the higher income countries and also the lower income countries. So again, this also signifies why the blue economy becomes very, very important to be the main focus of all countries. Not only Indonesia, worldwide. The second one, marine debris. So if for those of you who hasn't heard this terminology before, so marine debris is I can say it's actually a garbage. So a solid garbage, solid waste, which are discharged either with your conscience or not with your consciousness to the sea. So any solid waste that is released or discharged to the sea. And then you can see it either in the coastal environment or the marine environment. And there are lots of observations about how dangerous marine debris is, because again, it will hazard the commercial shipping. There are some, they can get into your machine. Let's say if you go use machine at your ship, fishing vessels, sometimes when you catch the fish from the sea, and somehow you can get lots of garbage, solid garbage there. And also maybe at the long run, it can be transport some of the contaminants. I think a couple days ago, there is, if you heard the microplastic, so the microplastic is if you have a plastic and then it is somehow disaggregated into a smaller pieces, and then I think a couple days ago I read the news about there is someone who is contaminated by microplastic. I think that's the first case or something like that. So again, in the long run, if we continue the marine debris to be as it is, so we don't manage it properly, these negative impacts will actually hit us in the long run. And if you're interested on how large the marine debris is currently, based on UNEP, there are around 5.8 to 8 million annually, every year, which means, 8 million tons of garbage released freely to the ocean. Can you imagine? That's a large number of ocean. Well, we are lucky because our ocean is quite large. But then if you're talking about 50, 60 years later, what will it be? And if you want to see the distribution of the garbage, three-quarters of the garbage, or I can say more or less 75% of the marine debris is in the form of plastic. Right. So if you go to the equator or to the deep sea bed, something like that, most of them are in the form of plastic. And there is a observation. This Agamut, they estimate that there are approximately 4.8 until 12.7 million metric tons of consumer plastic end up in the world oceans every year. So a proper waste management in the terrestrial area becomes very, very important to protect our ocean. Oops. And the next one, why it's becoming urgent? Because somehow there is an indication of overfishing. So overfishing is, in the simplest way, I can say that you catch the fish more than how fast the fish can breed themselves, if that makes sense for you. Or in academic terms, you can say that fish exploitations that exceeds what nature can sustainably yield. So let's say if in 1 year the fish can reproduce by 10%, we catch them by more than 10% each year. It means that every year we actually reduce their natural stock in the nature. No matter how fast they breed or they reproduce, our current exploitation will yield at some point, we will actually eliminate all these fish stocks. And the indication has been, you can see it at the panel, at the graph at your right panel. Since 1974, yes, in 1974, 90% of the fisheries in the world still categorized as sustainable, which means that you still catch less than how fast these fish can reproduce or can duplicate themselves, something like that. 17, those figures declined to only 65.8%, which means that almost 35% of the current fish catch in the world has been unsustainable. We are already catch more than what the nature can produce. And this is a dangerous one, especially if you let's say if we come back to my previous slides. Majority of our protein intake originated from fish. So this is a concerning fact, either at the global or a domestic scale. And why is it becoming? Why should we implement the blue economy right now? Simply because there are no protection on the ocean in terms of low products. So as you can see at the pie chart at your right panel in your screen, 92% of the ocean areas in the world is not protected by any regulation. Let's say if you want to catch as many fish as you can, you can do it on the Pacific Ocean, of course, because no one regulates that area. No one actually says that, your catch should be limited. You cannot catch more than, let's say, 2 tons per day or 3 tons per day, something regulated. And 92% of our marine areas is not protected by any law, which means that we cannot control. It will be difficult for us to monitor our marine resources exploitation. And in the long run, if it's not protected by law, it will hinder our progress in improving our marine knowledge center. Because if you want to create an industry, we have seen that all the well-established industry are the one whose research and technology develop very well. The simplest example, look at Apple. Why Apple becoming one of the most popular brand in the world? Because they develop themselves. Their R&D wants to ensure that they are always ahead of other competitors. So similar to the oceans. If there is no R&D, how can we develop marine industry? Something like that. So is another concerning facts regarding our marine areas. So, So how should we governing the blue economy then? Fortunately, it seems like my third part is Indonesia has in the last 5 years, Indonesia has initiated multiple commitments. So we are actually they actually engage in lots of international cooperations to preserve our ocean. So most of the collaborations are in terms of monitoring and evaluation, something like that. The most interesting part is the last commitments, which is the high-level panel for a sustainable ocean economy. This is an ambitious one. So Indonesia is one of the members of the ocean panel. So if you want to see it online, you can Google it for sure. Indonesia has been a part of the ocean panel. And this is an ambitious goal that they made. By 2025, all the members of the ocean panel will sustainably manage 100% of their ocean areas, which is very, very ambitious in my opinion. Another good news again, Indonesian ocean policy. This is mainly governed by the Ministry and Coordinating of Marine and Investment, Kemenko Marves. Also, Indonesia is progressing in terms of governing the blue economy, because if you can see that the key actions in the blue economy are, first, if you want to avoid the marine, to improve our waste management in the terrestrial areas, means not only prevent this garbage to flow into the water. But then at the same time, we should also how to reduce the number of waste products. Well, that can take us to another discussion actually, but that's the first one. And the second one, I think for the overfishing one, there's a need for us to regulate. I think Indonesia hasn't so far in